Hello, my name is Nicole Jones, and my presentation is on the benefits and effectiveness of teaching reading to teach talking in children with Down syndrome. Down syndrome is probably the most common genetic condition. About 5,000 babies are born with Down syndrome each year in the U.S. alone. Children with Down syndrome face many intellectual challenges. Solid intervention and high-quality instruction have been proven to improve academic achievement. One of the first steps in overcoming these challenges is learning to read. Children with Down syndrome benefit from being read to and taking part in reading instruction from an early age. Research has shown that reading will help children with Down syndrome to develop vocabulary and grammar and will improve spoken language skills. For most children with Down syndrome, language comprehension is better than language production. This means that children with Down syndrome can understand more than they can say. This may be due to a variety of issues, such as problems with word retrieval, sentence structuring, and speech motor control. Children with Down syndrome learn to read in typically the same way as other developing children, by building on their good memory skills. However, children with Down syndrome find it more difficult to use phonics, so they benefit instead from using a whole word learning strategy. For children, their auditory memory is better than their visual memory. However, this is the opposite for a child with Down syndrome. Their visual memory may be more effective than the auditory memory. A number of studies have shown that children with Down syndrome perform better when tasks are presented visually rather than auditorily. I will now give some examples of activities that can be used in implementing the teaching reading to teach talking method. I will first introduce flashcards with simple words written on each one. These are known as sight words. Before I begin, it is important to keep a few points in mind. Remember to teach whole words first, as teaching phonics to children with Down syndrome comes later. It is best to start with familiar words such as dad, or mom, or a sibling's name. Begin with something the child is interested in. Children with Down syndrome often take a keen interest in one or a few subjects. For example, if you have a child that likes dogs very much, you can use this theme to help make lessons appealing to them. It is also important to use words in which short sentences can be built, such as I or is or the. Now, these flashcards are probably a little different than what you usually see in teaching children to read. A typical flashcard may look something like this. They have a word on the bottom with a picture corresponding to that word. This association between picture and word may help a typical learner to learn to read, but for a child with Down syndrome, the picture may distract them. Separating the pictures from the text is probably the most important feature. Research has shown that placing words and pictures on the same visual field can actually delay reading in a child with Down syndrome because the child is easily distracted from the text and focuses instead on the picture. So instead we used these flashcards with the print in red to direct the child's attention towards the word. There is also something called the fast flash method, which has been proven to be quite effective. By flashing the cards quickly, the child's interest is held. The brain of a child, including children with Down syndrome, prefers to learn quickly, and retention is dramatically improved. In observing students in this process, you may experience some semantic errors in which the child says has the same meaning as the one in which the word the child says has the same meaning as the one they are looking at, but has no visual similarities. For example, if I hold up the flashcard with the word sleep printed on it, the child may say, go to bed. I found this most fascinating because it helps prove a couple of things. First, it suggests that the children are decoding the print for meaning and not just spitting out sounds in a meaningless way. They may not be able to articulate the word sleep into sound, so instead they come up with something in which they can produce into words but virtually means the same thing. And secondly, it demonstrates that the brain can go directly from print to meaning without changing the visual image of the word to its spoken form first and then accessing the meaning. It also makes us believe that children with Down syndrome are more intelligent and understanding of language than we often think, and that their language delay appears more associated with articulation problems than cognitive delay. After the child has successfully identified the words in the flashcards, it may be beneficial to make simple books based on the words that they have learned using the SPED flash method. By doing this, the child will be better able to read words, phrases, and sentences that will help them to talk more clearly. Reading books aloud can help a child with Down syndrome with their working memory. Working memory difficulties may also contribute to the speech and language delays that children with Down syndrome also often face, by limiting the amount that a child can organize and say clearly in a sentence. Reading provides opportunities to practice saying sentences that a child is unable to generate spontaneously, even though he or she understands them. When the children are reading aloud, the sentence is organized for them and the print is available without having to remember it. So the demands on the working memory system are reduced and its capacity can be used to plan and articulate each word more clearly. Again, start with something that is of interest to the child. In this case, it is dogs. You can also use photos of family members and pets. Use a simple sentence with words from the flashcards, such as, the dog is brown. Again, it is beneficial to place the illustration on a different page from the text to avoid distraction. Another reason why we do this is because it avoids rote memorization of a word or story. If a child is reading a page from a text, and the illustration of that text follows the page turn, we know that the child is actually reading and not memorizing or guessing. You may also notice that there is a lot of white space in this book. Again, the reasoning for this is to help the child stay focused. We are essentially forcing the child's brain to attend to the reading task. We surround the words with a white field, and the eye knows exactly where to focus. As the child reads, repeat what they say to reinforce correct pronunciation and grammar. At the end, you may write the words, the end, to give a sense of accomplishment in completing the story. There are also other activities that can be done in using sight words. As the child progresses, you can also use the sight words to introduce other concepts such as counting. For example, you can have the child learn to read the phrase, one dog, and then have the child match it to the picture that displays the matching number and the correct amount of dogs. This is also a good activity to implement effortless learning. Errorless learning is the best way to build success and self-confidence at the task of the child. Errorless learning simply means teaching the child to complete the task by guiding them through each step correctly with prompts and not allowing them to fail. For example, if I ask the child to place the flashcard with the words two dogs to match the flashcard with the number 2 and the correct amount of dogs, I can actually guide the child's hands towards the right picture until he can do it on his own. The purpose of this technique is never to allow the child to fail. The prompts also help in the learning process and with their self-esteem. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Remember, early intervention is very important. Parents play a major role in developing early and later reading success by providing enjoyable experiences with books and reading games. Studies have shown that children who are introduced to this reading technique in their preschool years show the highest levels of achievement. However, teenagers and young adults with Down syndrome can also benefit from these reading exercises and can continue to develop their reading abilities if given appropriate instruction.